Christmas Eve should smell of pine and cinnamon, not the stale tang of loneliness. I was 32, sprawled on my bedroom floor in a Chicago apartment I'd paid for, when my phone buzzed with a message that carved a hollow in my chest. Thank you for existing. Don't come. My father's words, sharp as a blade, glowed on the screen. I stared, willing them to blur, to soften, to mean something less cruel. Outside, snow dusted the city, and laughter from distant holiday parties seeped through the walls. But here, in the dim glow of dollar store string lights, I was an outsider in my own life, tethered to a family that had already written me off. I'd been carrying them for 18 months, my shoulders aching under the weight of their needs. Rent, $200 a month, wired from my account to keep the apartment we shared. Utilities, $200, because Emily, my sister, swore she'd pay me back when her next gig came through. Groceries, $500, stocked the fridge she raided without a thank you. I was the steady one, the one who worked overtime at a soul-draining office job, who sold my old gaming console to cover her student loans. Emily, 2 years younger at 30, was the family's darling, her chaos forgiven as creative spirit. I didn't complain. Family doesn't keep score, right? But that night, the scoreboard was all I could see. Hours before Dad's text, Emily had stood in the kitchen, tossing her coat over her shoulder like a movie star. Her blonde curls caught the light as she checked her reflection in the microwave door. She was headed to our parents' house for Christmas Eve dinner, a tradition I'd been quietly excluded from for months. Oh, by the way, she said, pausing at the door, if Mom and Dad ask, I told them you're just crashing on the couch. You know, since your name's not on the lease. Her tone was casual, like she was commenting on the weather. My hands froze in the soapy dishwasher, the sponge slipping from my grip. You told them that? I asked, my voice low but steady. She rolled her eyes, flicking a curl. Chill, Claire. It's not a big deal. I just didn't want them to think I'm letting you live here for free. Easier this way. I looked at her, the sister I'd propped up through job losses and late-night sob stories, the sister whose rent I paid while she bought new boots. But I'm paying the rent, I said, each word deliberate. Emily shrugged, already halfway out the door. Yeah, well, they don't need to know that. The door clicked shut, leaving me with the hum of the fridge and the weight of her lie. I dried my hands, the towel trembling in my grip, and sank onto a kitchen chair. The string lights flickered, cheap and fragile, like the bonds I'd been clinging to. Dad's text came later, around 9 p.m., as I sat cross-legged on the floor, scrolling through old photos to remind myself what family felt like. 6 words, no explanation, just a final seal of rejection. I imagined them at the dinner table, Dad carving the ham, Mom fussing over Emily, their laughter warm and complete without me. I'd been fading from their story for years, but this was different. This was a door slammed shut. My thumb hovered over the reply button, but no words came. What do you say to a family that thanks you for existing, then tells you to stay away? I set the phone down, the screen's glow fading to black, and let the silence settle. It wasn't peace. Not yet. It was the ache of a truth I'd been dodging. I was paying for people who had already decided I didn't belong. The kitchen clock ticked past midnight, its rhythm a faint pulse against the silence that had swallowed me since Dad's text. I sat at the table, the dollar store lights casting frail shadows on the linoleum, my mind a tangle of questions with no answers. How long had I been invisible to them? How many more years would I pour myself into their emptiness? The apartment, my cage of obligation, felt heavier than ever. Every creak of the floorboards a reminder of the rent I paid, the life I'd surrendered. Then, something snapped, not loud but clear, like a string stretched too far. I stood, my chair scraping the floor, and moved with a purpose I hadn't felt in months. In the hallway closet, buried under coats and forgotten umbrellas, was a toolbox I'd bought for a shelf I never built. My hands, steady now, closed around its rusted handle. The weight of it grounded me as I knelt by the front door, the lock's cold metal glinting under the bulb. Each turn of the screwdriver was a choice, each click a severance. I worked in silence, sweat beading on my neck, until the old lock fell away and a new one took its place. No hesitation, no guilt, just the quiet thrill of reclaiming what was mine. When I finished, I leaned against the door, the apartment lighter, as if it had exhaled a burden I'd carried too long. I crawled into bed, the sheets cool against my skin, and slept deeper than I had in years. At 8:17 a.m., the sound of keys fumbling woke me. A scrape, a curse, then a pause. Emily was back. The new lock held firm and her fists pounded, each thud a desperate plea I no longer owed her. I didn't move, didn't flinch, just listened as the banging slowed, then stopped. Silence returned, sharper now, mine to keep. I rose, my bare feet soft on the hardwood, and prepared her eviction in my way. On the doormat, I placed 2 boxes, wrapped like Christmas gifts with paper I'd saved for better days. One, medium-sized, held the scarf and earrings I'd bought for her, tied with a perfect bow, my last act of kindness. The other, smaller, buzzed faintly, a phone inside set to vibrate with a looped alarm. Tucked within was a third box, unadorned, a credit card statement in my name, $750 in charges she'd made, and a USB drive with audio clips of her laughing about my gullibility. A sticky note read, "Your contract has ended emotionally and in every way." I shut the door, the latch clicking with finality, and felt the air shift. The apartment wasn't just mine now, it was free. I stood in the kitchen, reheating coffee, the mug warm in my palms. The pounding hadn't shaken me, it had solidified me. Emily's absence was a gift I'd given myself, wrapped in the courage I'd forgotten I had. I didn't know what she'd do when she opened those boxes, but I knew what I'd done. Drawn a line, not in sand, but in steel. The string lights still flickered, but they no longer mocked me. They were mine, like this space, like my life. For the first time, I believed it. The coffee was cold by noon, but I sipped it anyway, the bitter edge matching the memories that clawed their way up as I sat alone in the apartment. Changing the locks had cracked something open. Not just the door, but the truth I'd buried under 18 months of sacrifice. It started small, a grocery run here, a utility bill there, promises from Emily that she'd sort it out soon. I believed her, because that's what sisters do. But small became a flood, and I was drowning in her chaos, my life shrinking to fit her needs while she danced through hers, untouched. It began when Emily lost her graphic design job, or quit, she was never clear. "Just a rough patch," she'd said, her voice soft, eyes wide, the same act she'd perfected as a kid to dodge trouble. I picked up extra shifts at the office, my desk a blur of spreadsheets and late-night emails. Rent was $200, and I paid it every month while Emily scrolled through Instagram, planning her comeback. Utilities, $200, hit my card because she forgot to transfer her share. Groceries, $500, filled our fridge, though I ate ramen to stretch the budget. Her student loans, $10,000, loomed, and I sold my gaming console, my one escape, to cover a chunk. "I'll pay you back," she swore, her hand on my arm, but her promises were air, gone by morning. I gave up more than money. Trips to the lake, painting classes, even a date I canceled because Emily needed $300 for an emergency that turned out to be a music festival. I told myself it was temporary, that family sticks together. But temporary became routine, routine became obligation, and obligation became a silence I couldn't break. Emily had a gift for twisting things. Her tears turned her into the victim, me into the cold, responsible one. To Mom and Dad, she was the dreamer, her failures proof of a delicate soul. I was the rock, too serious, too steady, until steadiness felt like a sentence. 6 months ago, I stopped going to family dinners, not because I didn't love them, but because each one was a trap. Mom's voice, sharp over mashed potatoes. "Emily's just struggling, Claire. Why do you make it so hard?" Dad's sigh. "You're the stable one. She needs you." I'd nod, my fork heavy, my smile a mask. The truth was, I was tired, tired of being the adult, the bank, the one who paid while they praised her. I'd drive home, the city lights blurring, and wonder when I'd become a stranger in my own family. 3 weeks before Christmas, I found the credit card statement, not mine, but in my name, opened with my ID and email. $750 in charges, a spa day, a tattoo at Ink and Needle, a Target haul. My heart pounded as I called the bank, their confirmation a gut punch, Emily's doing, linked to her phone. I didn't confront her. I watched, silent, as she pranced through the apartment in new sneakers, her Apple Watch glinting, laughing on FaceTime about her idiot sister who never notices. I took screenshots, saved voicemails, and built a case in the shadows. She thought she'd won, but I was done being her pawn. That afternoon, as snow fell outside, I sat on my bed, the statement crumpled in my fist. Emily's lies weren't new, but their scale was. She hadn't just taken my money, she'd stolen my identity, my trust, my place. I'd been shrinking to fit their story, but the locks I'd changed were only the start. I wasn't just locking her out, I was locking myself in, to a life I'd fight for, no matter the cost. The afternoon sun slanted through the kitchen blinds, painting stripes across the linoleum as I stood by the counter, the coffee pot hissing softly. The boxes I'd left on the doormat waited outside, their silent accusation heavier than the morning's calm. I'd locked Emily out, but the real confrontation loomed, a storm gathering in the pit of my stomach. Around 2 p.m. the door rattled, not a knock, but a fist pounding like it meant to splinter wood. I set my mug down, its warmth fading, and braced myself. The air thickened, charged with the truth I was about to unleash. I opened the door slowly, and there stood Emily, her blonde curls tangled, eyeliner smudged into dark crescents. She clutched the smaller box, its faint buzzing a taunt in her trembling hands. "What is this, Claire?" she screamed, her voice cracking like thin ice. I tilted my head, calm as stone. "A Christmas gift," I said, my words deliberate, cutting. She tore it open, the wrapping paper shredding to reveal the credit card statement, $750 in her charges, and the USB drive labeled, "For Dad." Her eyes widened, but before she could speak, my phone rang. I answered on speaker, Dad's voice filling the room. "Claire, what's going on? Emily says you're harassing her. This is cruel." I laughed, a sound sharp enough to startle even me. "Cruel? You mean like telling me not to come for Christmas?" Dad snapped. "That wasn't about you. You've been cold, isolating yourself." I cut him off, my voice steady. "You told me not to come, Dad, and guess what? I listened." Emily lunged for the phone, her nails grazing my wrist. "She's crazy, Dad. She changed the locks." I pulled back, holding the phone high. "Oh, please, Emily. Why don't you tell him what's in that box?" Silence fell, thick and suffocating, as her face drained of color. I pressed play on the USB drive, plugging it into a small speaker on the counter. Emily's voice spilled out, clear as a bell. "She's so easy to manipulate. I could max out her card, and she'd still pay my phone bill." The words hung, undeniable, her laughter in the recording a blade twisting in the room. Emily stammered, "That's out of context." I arched an eyebrow. "In what context is stealing my identity okay?" Dad's breathing crackled through the phone, but he said nothing. The truth was a weight he couldn't lift. Then a soft knock broke the tension. I opened the door to find Mom, her coat dusted with snow, and behind her Tom, Emily's ex-boyfriend, his jaw tight with something fiercer than anger. "Emily," Tom started, his voice low, trembling with rage. "I got a call today. 2 Amazon orders, a hotel booking, all in my name. They demanded payment. It was you." Emily's mouth opened, closed, and opened again. "Why would I do that?" she whispered, but her eyes darted to the box, the USB, the speaker still glowing red. Tom stepped closer, his gaze locked on hers. "I think you should go." Emily blinked, as if slapped, her usual tears absent. She had no script, no charm to wield. Mom's face crumpled, but she didn't speak, her silence louder than any defense. I tossed Emily's coat from the chair. "Your things are in the hallway, next to the trash. Figure out which is which." She didn't scream or beg. She just walked out, her footsteps fading down the hall, the elevator's ding a final note. I shut the door, the latch clicking softly, and leaned against it. The apartment felt vast, not empty but open, like a lung drawing its first full breath. Tom nodded at me, a quiet alliance in his eyes. Mom lingered, her hands twisting, but I didn't offer her words. The speaker hummed faintly, Emily's recorded laugh a ghost in the room. I'd torn down her lies, not with anger but with proof, and the weight of that victory settled in my bones. I was no longer their shadow. I was Claire, and I was enough. The morning after Emily's departure, I woke to a Chicago dawn, gray light seeping through my blinds like a promise of clarity. The apartment's silence was no longer a void, but a canvas, and I was ready to paint my justice. I sat at the kitchen table, a binder open before me, its pages stuffed with bank statements, screenshots, and audio transcripts. Evidence of Emily's betrayal, meticulously gathered. My hands, once trembling with doubt, now moved with purpose as I labeled each document, my pen's scratch a quiet rebellion. By noon, I'd filed a police report for identity theft. The officer's nod, a small validation of the war I'd been fighting alone. I found a lawyer by Wednesday, a woman named Karen with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense voice. Her office smelled of leather and coffee, the loop's skyline visible through her window. I slid my binder across her desk, its weight a testament to 18 months of exploitation. "This isn't just about the $750 credit card," I said, my voice steady. "She lived off me, rent, utilities, emergencies. My parents enabled it." Karen flipped through the pages, her brow furrowing at the utility contracts co-signed by Mom and Dad without my consent. "This is long-term financial exploitation," she said, leaning back. "You've documented every dollar. We have a case, a public one." A week later, my phone buzzed with a call from Grandma Evelyn, her voice firm despite her 78 years. "Claire, I've seen your evidence," she said, her words cutting through the static. "Your father took $10,000 from a savings bond in your name to buy Emily's car. I've blocked what's left and moved the account to you." My breath caught, the betrayal a fresh wound. "I didn't know it existed," I whispered. She sighed. "I've rewritten my will. My house is yours. You'll do right by it." Her trust anchored me, a lifeline I hadn't expected. The courtroom, 3 weeks later, was a sterile box of fluorescent lights and polished wood. Emily sat across from me, dressed in plain jeans, her usual flair muted as if auditioning for sympathy. Mom wore black, her eyes avoiding mine. Dad just looked weary, his shoulders slumped. Karen laid out the evidence with surgical precision. Bank statements, audio of Emily's boasts, forged utility contracts, and the stolen bond. Emily tried tears, her sobs rehearsed, but the judge's face was stone. "Ms. Thompson," he said to Mom, "did you register your daughter's name on financial documents without consent?" Silence stretched, taut as a wire. "Yes," she admitted, her voice barely audible. The verdict came swiftly, a gavel's crack sealing my freedom. $15,000 in compensation, all fraudulent debts canceled, legal costs covered, and a formal warning on their records. I exhaled, the weight of years lifting as I stepped into the courthouse lobby, snow swirling outside. Karen shook my hand, her grip firm. "You didn't just win, Claire. You rewrote their story." I nodded, the binder under my arm lighter now, its pages no longer a burden but a shield. The bank called that afternoon, confirming a full refund of the $750. I leaned back in my chair, the city's hum beyond my window a song of victory. I walked home through slushy streets, my boots steady on the ice. The apartment waited, its silence not just deserved but earned. I'd fought not for revenge but for truth, and the truth had set me free. Emily's lies, Mom's complicity, Dad's dismissal. They were no longer my chains. I was Claire, not their shadow, and the courtroom had proven it. The fight wasn't over, but the battle I'd won was mine to keep, a foundation for the life I was building, brick by brick. 3 days after the verdict, I stood in my kitchen, the morning light soft on the counter where my binder once sat. Tom, still crashing on my couch, stirred under a quilt, his snores a gentle rhythm in the apartment's new peace. He'd said little since Emily left, just a quiet, "finally," before sleep claimed him. I sipped reheated coffee, its steam curling like a question answered. I felt no guilt, no regret, only a stillness that fit me like a tailored coat. The apartment, once a cage, was now a sanctuary, every creak and hum mine to cherish. A week later, a letter arrived, Emily's handwriting unmistakable on the envelope. Inside, a photo of us as kids under a Christmas tree, her small arms around my neck. I stared at our smiles, her trust in me a memory that stung. On the back, I wrote, "You let go first," and held the photo over a candle. The flame licked the edges, the image curling to ash in the sink. I washed the remnants down the drain, the water's rush a cleansing I'd earned. Emily's attempt at guilt couldn't touch me now. I'd outgrown her traps. Months passed, spring thawing Chicago's icy grip. My parents sent no calls, no texts, not even a birthday card. Their silence was a gift. freeing me from the need to explain myself. I opened my fridge, every item mine, no longer shared with a thief. The sofa, the view of the skyline, they were new, not in form, but in feeling, unburdened by expectation. One May afternoon, an email from Lena, Emily's old friend, flickered on my screen. "She's lost her job again. You ruined her life." I read it once, my finger hovering, then pressed delete. Caring didn't mean going back. I ran into Dad at a gas station in June, the pump's hum filling the awkward air between us. He looked smaller, his hair grayer, his excuses spent. "You look good, Claire," he said, eyes on the ground. "Your mom's still mad, says you ruined Christmas." I raised an eyebrow, the irony sharp. "Funny. She started it with 'don't come,' and I listened." He sighed, grasping for words. "Families fight, Claire. You fought for Emily, not me." I let the silence answer, my car keys cool in my hand. I drove away, the rearview mirror empty, peace settling in my chest like a long-held breath released. 2 weeks ago, a package arrived, with no sender listed. Inside, a photo of me with Natalie, Emily's 6-year-old daughter, from years back. She was 4 then, giggling on my shoulders, her hands on my cheeks. A note in shaky crayon read, "I'm sorry for how my mom treated you. Thanks for everything, Natalie." My eyes blurred, tears falling as I traced her words. I didn't know how she found me. Maybe Evelyn, maybe chance. But her kindness was a light I hadn't sought. I tucked the photo in a drawer, not as a tether to pain but a reminder. Love endures, even when you walk away. I'm not vengeful. I didn't set out to break my family, only to stop breaking myself. Emily's lies thrived because I absorbed their cost. But when I stopped, their world unraveled. Not because I tore it down, but because I left. This wasn't punishment. It was freedom, the kind that comes when you choose yourself over a system that trades love for debt. Natalie's note proved it. Walking away doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you start loving yourself more. My apartment's silence is my anthem now, powerful, unknown, and wholly mine. The Chicago skyline glittered beyond my window, a quiet witness to the truth I'd carved from the wreckage of my family's lies. At 32, I'd learned a lesson sharper than any blade. Love isn't a debt you owe forever. For years, I'd poured myself into Emily, Mom, and Dad, believing sacrifice was loyalty, that my worth lay in what I gave. But their betrayal, Emily's theft, their dismissal, showed me love can't thrive on conditions. I'd shrunk to fit their needs, my dreams deferred, my identity stolen, until I chose myself. Changing the locks, facing them in court, burning that photo, they weren't acts of spite, but of survival. Natalie's note, her small hand reaching through the pain, taught me that walking away doesn't sever love. It reclaims it for yourself. I'm no longer the shadow who paid their bills, nor the daughter begging for a place at their table. I'm Claire, whole in my silence, free in my boundaries. The lesson isn't bitter, it's radiant. You don't owe anyone your soul. You owe yourself the courage to live unbound, to love fiercely, starting with you. The chandelier above the dining room spills golden light across the table, glinting off the crystal wine glasses and the polished silverware that clinks too loudly in my ears. My hands clench under the tablecloth, hidden from view, but my voice stays steady as I look at Michael. My father. Across the spread of roasted lamb and untouched asparagus. "What do you mean Sophie will own the company?" He doesn't even glance up from his plate, his knife slicing through the steak with the precision of a man who's never doubted his control. "Aurora, let's be realistic," he sighs, like he's explaining multiplication to a child who can't grasp it. "You're great at technical things, coding, systems, all that. But leadership, that's not your strength. We need someone with presence, someone who commands respect. Your sister's the best choice." Sophie, perched across from me in a sleek designer dress that probably cost more than my last software upgrade, sips her wine and lets a small, knowing smile curl her lips. She hasn't lifted a finger in the 3 years I've spent dragging Bennett Industries back from the edge of ruin. Not one late night, not one line of code, not one meeting with panicked investors. And now, with the company posting record-breaking profits, my profits, She's being handed the keys. I lean forward, my voice sharpening, cutting through the clinking silverware like a blade. I developed the software that saved this company. Without it, you wouldn't even have a company to pass down. Michael chuckles, a low, patronizing sound that makes my skin crawl. For your effort, he says, reaching into his pocket. He pulls out his wallet, fishes out a crumpled $50 bill, and tosses it onto the table. It lands between my plate and my untouched wine glass, wrinkled and pathetic, like a tip for a waitress he's already forgotten. $50. For the years I've spent hunched over my laptop, writing code until my eyes burned and my fingers ached. For the sleepless weeks I analyzed financial losses, designed a system that didn't just pull us out of bankruptcy, but launched us to the top of the logistics industry. $50 for the innovation that turned Bennett Industries from a dying relic into a $300 million powerhouse. Mom shifts in her seat, her eyes darting to me with that familiar flicker of discomfort. But she says nothing. No one does. I look at Michael, the man I idolized growing up, the man I've worked my entire life to make proud. And in that moment, something clicks. It's never been about merit, not effort, not success, not even loyalty. It's about control. I see, I say, quieter than I mean to. My fingers close around the $50 bill, turning it over once, twice before I fold it neatly into my napkin. Then I stand, my chair scraping against the hardwood. Aurora, don't be dramatic, Michael scoffs, waving a hand like he's shooing a fly. I smile, thin and sharp. I'm not being dramatic. I'm just excusing myself. Clearly my role in this family is nothing more than a background character. So I'll remove myself from the scene. Sophie lets out a soft chuckle, barely hiding her amusement. Oh, Aurora. Aurora, Mom starts, but I'm already moving, my heels clicking against the marble floor as I walk out of the dining room. I don't slam the door. I don't yell. I don't demand fairness. I just leave, the echo of my steps louder than any words I could have said. The lobby of Bennett Industries hums with energy as I step through the glass doors the next morning, my bag slung over my shoulder. A year ago, this place was a tomb. Whispers of layoffs, department heads quitting before the collapse could swallow them whole. Now it's thriving, alive, with the buzz of new hires and the clatter of keyboards. All because of me. My software turned weeks-long processes into minutes, secured global deals, made us untouchable. And yet, as I walk through, something's off. Conversations hush when I pass. Eyes dart away too quickly. I reach my office, the corner suite I fought for, only to find the door ajar. Inside, my desk is stripped bare. Computer gone, files missing. The nameplate that read Aurora Bennett, CTO, nowhere in sight. Sophie sits in my chair, legs crossed, flipping through a stack of documents with the casual air of someone who's already claimed her throne. She glances up, her smile bright and artificial. Oh, good morning, Aurora. Didn't Michael tell you? I'll be moving into this office. You'll be reporting to me now. My stomach drops, a cold weight settling in my gut, but my face doesn't betray it. What's my position? I ask, my voice steady as steel. She tilts her head, considering, then shrugs. We'll figure something out. Maybe something in IT support. Her lips twitch, a smirk she doesn't bother hiding. Michael suggested you take some time off, actually. Relax, work on some hobby projects. But don't worry, you'll still be part of the company, in some capacity. IT support, in my own company. The one I dragged from the abyss while she sipped cocktails and posted selfies. My heartbeat hammers in my ears, but I don't flinch. I take a slow breath, let it steady me. They want me out, after every sacrifice, every late night, every solution I bled for. They're discarding me like a used tool. Like I'm worth that crumpled $50 bill still folded in my purse. I stare at her, then at the Bennett Industries logo etched into the glass walls beyond the door. A name that once meant family, legacy, pride. Now, it's just betrayal. Understood, I say, my tone flat, final. Sophie's smirk widens, but I don't give her the satisfaction of a fight. I turn and walk out, my heels clicking against the tile, the sound sharp and deliberate. The elevator doors slide shut behind me, and as they do, a single thought burns in my mind. They think they've won. They think I'll disappear quietly. They have no idea what's coming next. The farthest corner of the building is a graveyard of mismatched desks and flickering fluorescent lights. My new station, a tiny scratch table shoved between two interns who don't even know my name. I sit there the next morning, my laptop open, watching the chaos unfold across the office. Sophie's in charge now, and it shows. She sweeps through in her heels and tailored blazer, dismissing department heads who try to advise her, replacing them with her friends, people whose only qualification is a shared taste in overpriced wine. The company isn't just vulnerable, it's teetering. My software's still running things, but she's making decisions on gut instinct, no data, no strategy. Clients are starting to ask questions. Employees exchange nervous glances. I see it all from my little exile, my pulse steady, my hands still. They've pushed me to the edges, thinking I'd fade into the background, a ghost of the CTO I used to be. But I don't argue. I don't storm her office or demand my place back. I watch. And in less than a week, I know exactly what's happening. Sophie's in over her head, drowning in a role she can't handle, and Michael's too proud to see it. The empire I built is cracking under their weight. I close my laptop, lean back in the creaky chair, and let a small, cold smile tug at my lips. They think they've buried me. They think I'll sit here, grateful for scraps, maybe even beg to stay. They're wrong. I won't fight from this corner. I'll build something bigger, something they can't touch. Watch me. The coffee shop across the street from Bennett Industries is a dim refuge, its air thick with the scent of roasted beans and the hiss of steam from the espresso machine. I sit in a corner booth, the evening light fading outside, my fingers tracing the edge of a folder I've been guarding like a secret weapon. The door jingles, and Ethan Carter steps in first, 42, sharp-eyed, the ex-CFO who balanced our books when they were drowning in red. Olivia Hayes follows, 34, her data analyst mind, already worrying behind her calm exterior. Then Ryan Patel, 31, my coding partner from those 3 a.m. nights when caffeine was our lifeline. They've all resigned in the past month, and I know why. They saw the same cracks I did. I slide the folder across the table as they settle in, their mugs clinking against the wood. We're building something new, I say simply, my voice low but firm. Ethan leans forward, his expression serious, the lines on his face deepening. What's the play here? I tap the folder, letting the weight of my next words settle. I've got the software, the newest version, the one with the advanced features. They don't own it. I never uploaded it to their servers. Olivia's eyes narrow, calculating, while Ryan grins, already seeing the code in his head. Ethan exhales, a slow, impressed sound. You're saying it's yours, completely. I nod, my pulse steady, a steel edge creeping into my tone. Bennett Industries has the old system. This one's better, faster, stronger, and it's ours. They don't hesitate. No questions, no doubts. They're in, just like that, because they know what I know. Sophie and Michael overlooked the one thing that could have saved them. I lean back, the folder open between us, pages of specs and plans glowing under the dim light. We start now, I say, and it's not a request, it's a command. The coffee shop fades into the background as we talk, voices low, plans forming. They think they've buried me, but I'm not just clawing out of the grave. I'm building an empire. My apartment is a war zone of papers and glowing screens, the city lights spilling through the window as I hunch over my laptop, refining the software alone. It's been a month since the coffee shop, a month of silence and late nights, my fingers flying across the keys to make it perfect. The code's mine. Every line, every upgrade, and it's a beast now, outpacing anything Bennett Industries ever had. I don't sleep much, but I don't need to. The $50 bill sits framed on my desk, a crumpled reminder of why I'm doing this. I pitch it the next week, not to Michael or Sophie, but to their competitors. I walk into sleek boardrooms, my heels clicking on polished floors, my voice steady as I demo the system. Processes that took days, now done in seconds. Profits projected to soar. 3 offers come within weeks, each one hungrier than the last. By the end of the month, I sign a deal. $50 million, cash up front, exclusive rights to a logistics giant that once begged Bennett for scraps. I sit back in my chair that night, the contract inked and drying, the city sprawling below me. My phone buzzes. Ethan, confirming the funds hit our account. Olivia's already mapping client expansions. Ryan's tweaking the rollout. We're not just a team, we're a machine, and I'm the engine. The $50 bill stares at me from its frame, and I smile, cold and quiet. Michael thought I was worth that much. Sophie thought I'd fade into IT support. They were wrong. I'm not just competing with Bennett Industries anymore. I'm about to destroy them. The thought settles in my chest, not as anger, but as certainty. I close my laptop, the screens glow, fading, and let the silence wrap around me. This is just the beginning. I don't need to step foot in Bennett Industries to know it's unraveling. I see it from the outside. My new office, a vantage point across the city. The first sign comes quietly. A client that's been loyal to Michael for a decade pulls their contract. No explanation, just a press release about new partnerships. Then another jumps ship, then a third. Whispers ripple through the industry, and I catch them all, my ear to the ground while my hands stay clean. My software, now running competitor systems, is the blade. They're just bleeding out. Inside their glass-walled tomb, Sophie's losing it. I hear it through the grapevine, department heads fired on a whim, her shrill voice echoing down halls as she demands answers no one has. She's making decisions on instinct, no data, no logic, just the arrogance of someone who's never had to earn her place. Michael's too busy golfing with investors to notice the hemorrhage, or maybe he's too proud to admit it. Either way, the company I saved is crumbling under their weight, and I'm not lifting a finger to stop it. I sit at my desk in Nova Systems, our new HQ, sleek and sharp-edged, watching the stock ticker on my screen. Bennett Industries dips another 5%, then 10%. Employees I used to know start texting me, asking what's happening, begging for jobs. I don't reply. Not out of spite, but because I don't owe them anything. Sophie thought she could run my empire with a smirk and a wine glass. Michael thought I'd stay a cog in his machine. Now they're obsolete, and I'm the tide pulling them under. My pulse stays steady as I sip my coffee, the city humming beyond the window. The irony's thick enough to taste. They're doing this to themselves, and I don't even need to push. I set the mug down, the ceramic clinking softly, and lean back. They wanted me gone. They got their wish. And now they're drowning in it. The ballroom of the Tech Innovators Gala glitters like a crown jewel. Chandeliers dripping light over black-tie elites, sipping champagne and trading million-dollar handshakes. I step inside, my heels clicking on the polished floor, the sound a quiet echo of that night I walked away from Michael's table. Tonight's different. Tonight, I'm not the overlooked daughter. I'm the guest of honor, and they all know it. Whispers follow me as I move through the crowd. Is that Aurora Bennett? She runs Nova Systems now. Didn't she sink her father's company? I ignore them, my chin high, my pulse calm. The keynote speaker wraps up, his voice booming over the applause. Tonight, we recognize the visionaries pushing the industry forward. Aurora Bennett, creator of the most groundbreaking logistics software in the market today, has transformed how global corporations operate. Her company, Nova Systems, is now valued at over $500 million. The room erupts, the sound crashing over me like a wave, and I stand, smoothing my dress. a sleek, midnight blue number that feels like armor. I walk to the stage, the spotlight hot on my skin, and take the mic. "Thank you," I say, my voice steady, cutting through the noise. This isn't about me. It's about what's possible when you build something real. Nova Systems isn't a fluke. It's proof that merit matters. The applause swells again, but my eyes drift to the back of the room. There they are, Michael and Sophie, tucked in a shadowed corner, their faces pale and drawn. Bennett Industries is weeks from bankruptcy, and they know it. Michael's shoulders slump, the commanding patriarch reduced to a ghost. Sophie clutches her champagne glass like it's a lifeline, her smirk long gone. I lock eyes with them, and for a moment, the room fades, just me and the family that threw me away. I smile, not out of spite, not out of revenge, but because I've won on my own terms. The $50 bill flashes in my mind, that crumpled insult, and I let the memory fuel me as I step off the stage, the crowd parting like I'm royalty. I don't gloat. I don't need to. The numbers speak for me. $500 million, 48% market share, and climbing. Someone presses a glass into my hand, and I sip the champagne, the bubbles sharp on my tongue. Michael's gaze follows me, heavy with something I can't name, regret, maybe, or disbelief. Sophie won't even look up. I turn away, the gala's glitter wrapping around me, and let the victory settle in my bones. They thought they'd buried me. They thought I'd disappear. But I didn't just rise. I soared. And this is just the start. The conference room at Nova Systems is a sleek fortress of glass and steel, my territory now, and I sit at the head of the table when my assistant buzzes in at precisely 10 a.m. "Aurora, your father and sister are here to see you." I lean back in my chair, exhaling slowly, the leather creaking under me. So it's come to this. "Send them in," I say, my voice calm, steady, like the quiet before a storm. The door opens, and Michael and Sophie walk in like ghosts of their former selves. Michael, 58, looks older, defeated, his tailored suit hanging loose on a frame that's lost its edge. Sophie, 27, clings to her designer bag, but the exhaustion in her eyes betrays her. She can't hide behind the facade anymore. They hesitate, glancing at the chairs across from me, and I gesture silently, letting the silence stretch until they sit. Sophie's nails tap the armrest, a nervous tick, while Michael clears his throat, his voice measured, but strained. "Aurora, we need to talk." I tilt my head, resting my arms on the desk, my gaze unwavering. "And what exactly are you asking me to do?" He leans forward, clasping his hands like he's still the one in charge. "We've had our differences, but at the end of the day, we're family. Bennett Industries is struggling. We need your help." There it is, the plea I've waited for, the crack in his armor. I let it hang in the air, watching them squirm, then speak, my tone cold as ice. "You need me. That's funny, because a year ago, you told me I wasn't leadership material. You told me I was only good for technical things." Michael has the nerve to look frustrated, his jaw tightening. "You know how business works. Decisions were made, but now we have to move forward. If you come back, we can rebuild Bennett Industries together." Sophie finally looks up, her expression tight. "Don't be petty, Aurora. We need you, okay?" I laugh, actually laugh, the sound sharp and sudden bouncing off the glass walls. "You need me," I repeat, leaning forward now, my voice dropping low. "My company's worth $500 million. Yours is weeks away from bankruptcy. Explain to me again which one of us doesn't know how to run a company." Silence falls, pure and satisfying, and Michael's face hardens. "Aurora, please," he says, the word a dagger to my chest. Not because it hurts, but because it's everything he denied me. "No," I say, soft but final, and Sophie stiffens. "Excuse me?" I meet her gaze, unflinching. I don't need Bennett Industries. You needed me, and you threw me away. You made your choice. Now live with it. Michael exhales sharply, frustration breaking through. You're seriously going to let your own family fail? I smile, smooth and unshaken. I didn't let anything happen. You destroyed it the moment you put Sophie in charge. She pushes back from her chair, standing abruptly, her face red. You're just bitter. You've always been jealous of me. I stand too, smoothing my blouse, my voice steady as ever. Jealous, Sophie? I don't need to be jealous. I already have everything you wanted. They leave. Sophie storms out, Michael in furious silence, and as the doors close, I sit back down, exhaling. I'm free. 3 days later, the news breaks like a thunderclap across the industry. Bennett Industries declares bankruptcy. It's everywhere. Business magazines, online forums, national headlines screaming former giant collapses overnight, and poor leadership sinks $300 million company. Every article credits me for its brief survival, pointing out the obvious. My software was the lifeline, and once I was gone, it was only a matter of time. I'm in a meeting when my assistant, Claire, knocks on my office door, her voice hushed. Aurora, you might want to see this. She hands me a printed document, and I scan it, my lips curving into a small smirk. Bennett Industries is being liquidated. Everything up for sale, the headquarters, the assets, even the Bennett name itself. Michael overleveraged it, took out desperate loans, and now the banks are seizing it all. I could buy it, every last piece, and the poetic justice is almost too perfect. That night, in my penthouse overlooking the city, I think it over, the $50 bill flashing in my mind. That crumpled insult from a year ago. My decision crystallizes, sharp and clear. I don't go through a firm or a proxy. I call the bankruptcy attorney myself the next morning. I'd like to place a direct bid on all Bennett Industries assets, I say, pausing for effect, including the name. A week later, I'm in their old boardroom, the one Michael once ruled like a king, and now I hold the crown. The paperwork spread before me, a sleek black and gold pen resting on the final contract. Michael and Sophie sit across, ashen-faced, watching as I pick up the pen. I still can't believe you're doing this, Sophie mutters, her voice shaking. I raise an eyebrow, calm as ever. Doing what? Buying a failed company? Acquiring a name that no longer holds value? She scowls, but Michael cuts in, his tone sharp. Aurora, just sign the damn papers. I pause, then slide them back across the table. He blinks, confused, as I point to a clause. I'm dissolving Bennett Industries, I say simply. Sophie gasps, snatching the document. You're shutting it down? I nod, my smile faint but unwavering. Yes, all rights to the Bennett name, patents, everything. It's absorbed by Nova Systems and retired. Permanently. Michael's jaw clenches. You're doing this to get back at us. I lean forward, my voice steady. Number, I'm doing this because some things deserve to die. I sign, and it's over. The Bennett era erased with a single stroke. The Bennett family gala glitters in the same mansion Michael once owned, now sold at auction, its chandeliers casting light over a crowd that no longer belongs to him. I arrive in a custom black gown, stepping out of my car with quiet confidence. The invitation, a formality from someone who doesn't know our history, tucked in my clutch. Whispers trail me as I enter. That's Aurora Bennett. She destroyed her father's company. I don't care. I'm not here to prove anything. I'm here to end it. I spot them in a shadowed corner, away from the power players they once courted. Michael looks smaller, his presence faded, regret flickering in his eyes. Sophie's mask cracks, her fingers tight around her glass. I walk toward them, my heels clicking, and they stiffen as I stop. Aurora, Michael says, his voice quieter than I've ever heard. I tilt my head. Michael. He sighs, resigned. I suppose this is where you gloat? I smile slightly, setting my drink on a tray. No, Michael. This is where I say goodbye. Sophie blinks. What? I step closer, my tone soft but firm. I spent years trying to earn your approval, proving I was good enough. I don't need that anymore. I turn to Sophie, her face tightening. And I don't hate you. I just pity you. I built my own power. You never will. They're speechless as I walk away, the gala fading behind me. I step into my car, the city ahead, and smile. This isn't the end, it's my beginning.